UIC.
Freedom the people of
Hell yeah.
Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah,
Yeah. Real man a road. Now but wolf, you know.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. And I've just hijacked Douglas's position. So, Douglas, over to you. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry, that's okay, Mr. Patterson. So welcome, guys. Welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. Very important and timely live that we have today. Let's see who we have on. No one is commenting yet.
I don't think nobody yet. It's too early.
It's a bit early.
Yeah, here we go.
Gloria,
Number one.
good evening.
Gloria.
Good evening,
Good
Gloria.
evening, Gloria. Good evening. All right, back to you, Sir Douglas.
Yes, so this evening is going to be a topic on, well, you know, the UIC is always uncovering bad governance all around, but very timely because of, you know, the recent rains or floods that Jamaica has been experiencing, flood waters that Jamaica has been experiencing in the last couple of days. So Tropical Storm Ian, which is now a hurricane, passed nearby Jamaica in the last couple of days, and of course left with it a lot of flooded waters and streets being overflooded, drains and gullies being overflooded, roads being breaking away, and the like. So, you know, tonight we're going to talk about why is it that after 78 years, I mean, we're a small country that lives in a tropical climate. We know that, you know, every year around this time, we'll either get a hurricane or some kind of tropical depression or a tropical storm. Why is it that after all these years, our government still hasn't been able to design a proper risk management or disaster management system that will kind of help to curtail the issues that we have every year or every time it rains? And it doesn't even have to be heavy rains nowadays. Nowadays, if the rain is just falling, you know, gradually over a period of time, you know, floods. And then we hear this area is on flood watch and this, that, and the other. Why is it that after 78 years, we still can't deal with this? This is something that we, you know, it's not something new to us. It's not like, you know, wake up today and rain just, and we have flood. We know that this usually happens during our rainy season. Why aren't we properly preparing for it? So tonight we're going to be dealing with that topic and that issue. JMH is here. Good night, JMH. Mitzi Lawrence. Good evening, Uniters. Good evening, Mitzi. Kirk. Good night, Mr. President and Sir Harper. Good night, Kirk. Glad to have you on. So yes, guys, we're going to be looking at a video that was recorded, well, done this afternoon for Midday News on TVJ. That kind of shows the issue that Jamaica has and is having, and unfortunately hasn't, or leaders haven't been foresighted enough to, you know, put things in place to help. So I'm going to share a video with you guys. Is it? Okay, yes. So I'm going to share a video with the guys that shows the issues that we're having right now, present day. And this is a recent news broadcast. It happened this afternoon for Midday News. So let's see if we can get you one time. Yeah, all right.
With the rain finally letting up in some parishes, the devastation from the outer bands of Hurricane Ian is even more glaring. In Mount Vernon Gap, St. Thomas, residents are desperately appealing for help after a section of the already poor road surface collapsed Monday night. Prince Moore has the report.
This is what's left of the main entrance to Cedar Valley in Mount Vernon Gap, St. Thomas. Between Monday night and Tuesday morning, the saturated soil collapsed into this gully, an all too familiar scene for residents in the community.
For 3 years now, we have a cut off, a break off, where no vehicle can go. And I've been to parish council several times asking them to come and see what they can do to fix it, because if it cut off, we will be marooned.
And now residents are in that same situation. A section of the road collapsed in 2020 and was reduced to single-lane traffic. Now it is barely wide enough for pedestrians.
Till we cut off completely, it's bad. Where are we going to get food for our kids? Where are we going to get food for our family? It is a disgrace. Nobody cares for us. A big district like this.
This is so bad, so bad. We know it gone. Where we are going to do? What we are going to do? Where we are going to? Baby mother there, if we sick, we can't come out. Nothing.
So what have the local authorities been doing? Residents stressed that they have been in dialogue with their councillor, Marsha Francis.
Nobody busy with us. Engineer come, different people come. Nobody look up. I know. All I said is parish council road. And we come on parish council. We have no slack. Nobody no look for. We talk to the councillor. She said she could try. And all they try until now.
When we contacted Ms. Francis, she told our news team that she is aware of the situation and plans are underway to fix the road. She said the municipal corporation is trying to acquire an additional plot of land to start the restoration. Ms. Francis also indicated that she will be visiting the community to assess the latest damage. Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Poor drainage infrastructure is again being blamed for the widespread flooding across the island from rains associated with Hurricane Ian. The outer bands of the storm left many communities in St. Catherine submerged, and the residents are blasting the government for not doing enough. More in this report. Brunswick Avenue in St. Catherine impassable Monday evening. Up to late in the night, the nearby community of McCoy Gardens was still underwater. Residents are both frightened and frustrated.
The rain falling and it blocked it all in my house. If you go right in there, everything full of water. It come to the bed. At all the while we're and fall a search there, but it's worse today.
Miriam Woodson has been living in McCoy Gardens for years. Now she is struggling to pick up the pieces after rains from the outbands of the tropical storm system ravaged the place she called home.
Don't put my clothes wet. Me not have no clothes to put on. Me have some food. Everything. You see it where? You see where bus in the yard.
With more rain in the forecast today, residents of McCoy Gardens are still not in the clear. However, they believe the government is to be blamed for failing to develop sustainable drainage infrastructure in the community.
It want to clean up the road here, sir. It want to clean. And them won't clean it. And them say, labor down here, so labor and labor now do nothing at all.
And the National Works Agency says it could take some time before some roadways are cleared of debris resulting from the heavy rains. Carrie-Ann Simpson has that story.
Once the tropical storm watch was lifted, there was an expectation that there would be bright skies and sunshine. The opposite has happened with Hurricane Ivan strengthening as it moves away from Jamaica. The result? Flooded roadways and breakaways in sections of St. Catherine, Clarendon, St. Thomas and Kingston. But the National Works Agency says it cannot attend to all situations given the inclement weather.
Very often we just have to allow the floodwaters to recede and thereafter we can go in and assess that which is left behind by the flood waters. Either you have surfaces that are badly discovered, or you have surfaces that, despite the passage of the stormwater flows, were not unduly impacted. And so, all that is required is for us to maybe clean up some debris and return the corridors to full use by the motoring public.
And with reports of landslides in Trelawney and Westmoreland impacting roads.
Where it is that we have landslides, and in particular if a road is blocked, then the instructions are given to our officers on the ground to ensure that these corridors are reopened in a timely way.
But the most shocking report came from this video. It shows a driver of a public passenger vehicle attempting to break off the locks from the gates of the Bogwalk Gorge in St. Catherine. It was closed to ensure persons' safety after the water level rose above 30 feet high. Mr. Shaw says it's a common practice that needs to stop because it can result in death.
We have had situations where persons have actually removed the gate, enter into the Bogwalk Gorge, causing problems to themselves, or situations where persons remove the gates and then those persons who might not have gotten the information about its closure end up inside there.
Carrie Simpson, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Mayor of Kingston, Delroy Williams, says the municipality was affected by minor issues during the rains. He says small land slippages were reported in East and West Rural St. Andrew. As for the roadways, Mayor Williams says the passage of Aeon did not cause any new issues. He says a team from the corporation is carrying out assessment work. Mayor Williams was speaking after a tour of sections of the municipality this morning.
We have had damage to sections of our roadways from every rainfall, every downpour. And there are sections in Red Hills and across the municipality we have had damage. Those initial assessment has been done, and we will continue to do the assessment throughout this week, and so that we can have a fair idea as to the damage and the approach in addressing the damage.
Teachers and staff at the Roseville Play and Learn Early Childhood Preparatory School in Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth have been left traumatized following a break-in at the institution on the weekend. Now, as Sandy Williams reports, it's not the first time the school has been targeted by hoodlums.
A damaged door, ransacked office, and an unmade bed in the nursery are what greeted teachers, staff, and students at Roseville Play and Learn Early Childhood Preparatory on Tuesday, a stark contrast to how they left the institution last Friday. The teachers theorized the perpetrator broke into the school and may have spent the weekend there.
Because they had time to plug in our radio, take it from the office to our classroom and plug it in the team as if it was playing. We came and it's just crazy. We have snacks, they eat all the snacks. Even in our sick bay, which is all the way to the back, they take snacks there and they eat and throw down and ravel the beds, and we had the rains. We weren't able to come in yesterday because of the weather.
Okay, so we went a little bit far into the newscast to talk about the theft situation, but Douglas, from what I'm seeing here, anybody watching this should be of the opinion that clearly we don't have a government that is being proactive, that is being careful in planning how the country is designed in order to ensure that we can properly manage water. We shouldn't be afraid of water, by the way. Water is a part of life, right? You're going to have rains, you're going to have hurricanes. So the key thing is how do we prepare for it? And in my opinion, it shouldn't take us 78 years to figure out how to. In fact, they haven't figured out yet. It's now 78 years and they haven't figured out yet. I don't think they're about to figure it out anytime soon. What do you think?
I agree with you. And it's shocking that, 78 years have gone by and there's nothing that's been done. It's all talk, promises. It's all reactionary. So after the place has been flooded, we're going to go and see what has happened instead of preparing the place so that when the flood comes, we know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah. What really? Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
What stood out for me was to hear that lady that looks like she's a senior citizen. She's crying out. You can hear the pain in her voice because she has been suffering this for years upon years upon years. She's probably, let's say she's 70 years old or so. She has been seeing this from the time she was a child until now. We've had all kinds of different prime ministers, black man time, white man prime minister, woman, young prime ministers. But it's the same thing regardless of who we elect. And what is scary is that now her community is marooned.
Yeah.
What does she mean by marooned? It means that if they need to get out of their community quickly to go to a clinic or a hospital because of a medical emergency, they're now severely impeded. They were already impeded by the bad roads and other issues, but now the road is gone. So they can't get access to food very easily. They can't get access to medicine very easily. If there's a security concern, they or the police cannot make contact very easily. So it seems to me that we just don't have anybody planning this country. But yet still, the government is taking 45% of GDP.
Yeah.
And then we have the continuous issue of, the MP saying it's a parochial matter or a parish council matter, and the councillor saying it's a central government matter, and the National Work Agency is saying, well, we just have to wait and see when the water subsides. We'll go in and take a look and see what's going on. No sense of urgency, no sense of preparedness, no sense of understanding. But this can't continue. We can't continue to have this for years upon years upon years.
It can't. And it's one of the things that, when I read in the manifesto or is it 10-point plan for the UIC, the idea of, an MP or a councillor living in, and one of the requirements is that you have to live in the constituency that you're representing.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm guessing that if that MP was living in that area, the road would have been fixed a long time. Everything would have been made. She would have made sure that things were at a point where even if it does rain, it's not affected that greatly.
Absolutely.
But we have people that are just put in constituencies to win seats for parties, and that just doesn't work.
Absolutely. So what I'm seeing from an engineering standpoint, what I'm seeing is a number of things happening. One, in some cases, we have no drains. So they have built a community. You have houses, you have streets, you have bush, you have buildings, and then they don't have a drain facility at all. I'm seeing that in some cases. Other drainage, but it is too small. So what would have happened? You would have a community with let's say 30 homes at one point, and then over a period of time, the 30 homes become 150, 200, 300 homes. But the drainage facility is ancient. It has been there for a long time. It was not designed for the city. So it is too small. So in one case, no drain. In another case, drain is too small. And in a third case, the drain is blocked up. So you have debris from previous rains, garbage that has been flowing from all over the place. People throw their garbage all over the place. And gradually the drain becomes blocked up. In other cases, the drain is also overgrown, meaning you now have trees and bushes and grass growing through the drains and then therefore constricting the size of the drains. So all of these things are going to create a backlog and a backup. Now, how do you address these? One, in a community that is properly designed, you would have drains properly designed to match and fit the population capacity of that community. If the community expands, a properly planned community, you would have the civil engineers go back in, look at the expansion, and expand the drains accordingly. If you had regular garbage pickups and regular street cleaning, let's not talk about blaming the citizens. We know you're always going to have nasty citizens. You're going to have citizens who are going to litter the place. But then you're also having a situation where the government is failing to pick up garbage.
Yes.
And over time, you cause the people to become careless too. Because you, government, are careless, you gradually affect the minds of the citizens, and they now stop trying to dispose of their garbage properly, because even if they do so, they're going to see right now, every time I drive by my house and drive all the way to Santa Cruz, I see piles of garbage at people's driveways, at businesses, piled up, not collected for weeks and weeks and weeks. So over time, you're going to affect the minds of the people. They're not going to be in tune with cleanliness. So the combined effect of bad governance, failing to pick up garbage, and the deteriorating effect on the minds of citizens results in the drains being clogged by garbage. And on top of that, the drain is overgrown because the government isn't caring for it. Remember, you and I are going to work every day. We're paying taxes. It's the job of the government to have a team of people who are employed, and their job is to go around on a periodic basis, on a proactive basis, and make sure that the drains are not overgrown, that they're cleared and ready, especially as you come close to the rainy seasons.
Exactly.
Now, why are we surprised? Why are we surprised when we finally have the rains and we have the flood, and then we say, oh, the drains were clogged, and oh, people put garbage in the drain? No, you should say, don't worry, Jamaicans. As your government, we have ensured that drains are in every community, that the drains in those communities are of the proper capacity, and we have ensured that no garbage buildup is there because we have regularly cleaned the streets, we have regularly picked up the garbage, and we have fined anyone that has tried to dirty up the place. We have fined them so that now people know there's consequences to their behavior. Exactly. And so, my fellow Jamaicans, rest assured, when the storm hits, your drains will be adequate, they'll be clear, and you don't have to worry about the water. As a matter of fact, we are not going to be afraid of the water because we have planned for it. We're going to capture it and we're going to store it and use it.
Exactly. But we, unfortunately, we're not so far-sighted. No. I'm seeing a comment. There was a comment here. Let me see if I can find it. He was saying basically like Puerto Rico was flooded, Germany flooded last year, New York City flooded also. When you have so much water in a little time, the place gets flooded out. Stop the nonsense. But the reality of the situation is that our situation is a little different. The reason we're having flooding is not because our drains are clean and there's been proper, the roads are properly made with proper drainage, or communities are built in such a way that we can overcome these things. Our situation is just that our government, or the people that we are paying tax money to, just doesn't see it necessary to put things in place for something that happens almost every year. Like when New York City floods out, that's a once in a 10-year thing. Like that doesn't happen every year. You know what I mean? So they're not prepared for it. And I guarantee you, if it was something that happened every year, they would prepare for it.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, we just don't care about preparing for it.
So what this person is saying to us, Douglas, is that because other countries have floods, Jamaica should just live with it. We should just accept it because other countries have flooding. So the idea then is we don't need government, do we? Why do we need to hire these people and pay them millions of dollars? If we don't need them to plan and manage our environment, why do we have elections? Why do we collect taxes and give to them? We have elections and we have taxes because we want our public affairs to be properly managed. Now, you want to tell me that all of these flooded areas They're flooded because Germany and other countries have flood. That's why they're flooded. So when you go into a community and you see the water backing up and you go to a drain, you see the drain sitting there. Santa Cruz has, when rain falls, going into Santa Cruz, you have a nice stretch of road that goes off a bit of a hill and goes down. When it gets down to the drain is there, and the water rushes into the drain and it turns the corner. And as soon as it turns the corner, it stops because the rest of that area is fully blocked up. So if you stand there for about 15 minutes, you'll notice that the water first rushes off the road. 15 minutes later, it builds up to a gigantic level because it cannot continue through the drain because the drain is clogged. Secondarily, that's on the left side. As you move further down the road, the water now shifts to the right side. On the right side, there's an unfinished drain that was partially started maybe 5, 7, 8, 10 years ago. It has not been completed, and so the water then rushes into a yard that's nearby. But there's a building at the back of that yard that wasn't there a few years ago. And now that you have that building, the water then backs up on that wall and then pushes back onto the road. And so you now have more and more water on the road. That is the nature of the problem in Jamaica. The problem is one of a lack of planning, a lack of proper design, and a lack of maintenance. So we're not maintaining, we're not designing, and we're not building the right things to move the water through and off the road properly. And there are many, many roads like this. There are many roads without drains at all. You have manholes. If you look in the manholes, it's stuffed up with garbage because they've just not been cleaned. So while there is an argument to be made for the fact that sometimes during any given year you might have excess rain, more rain than you could have planned for. That's happening, but that is compounded by the fact that you don't have the proper design, the proper maintenance, and the proper care in place. But what is the UIC's solution to all of this? Well, we have some very simple solutions, which I think any government should be able to put in place. The first thing is we realize that, over the 78-year history since we have had self-government and now independence, we should be able to understand storm patterns, hurricane patterns, water patterns. How does water move from point A to point B? So having a government and having agencies like the National Work Agencies, like NEPA, and all of these agencies, their job would have been to, study and understand rainfall patterns, the flow of water, the volume of water, how much you need to take off at different points, and so on. And you'd then think that information would be fed into a town and country planning committee that is distilled through the parish councils and then is incorporated into the planning and building codes and so on. But we have not seen that level of attention being given to the reality that is here. So obviously, over that 70-year period, we have not learned. We have not designed a flood-resilient country. But why? Why haven't we? It's a simple answer: corruption. By getting rid of the corruption, we would have created another $700 million every year for planning, designing, and maintaining the public infrastructure. That money would free up funds to put towards many of the things that we need to ensure that Jamaica is waterproof or disaster-proof to the best of our ability. So the UIC has 7 things that we can propose to do to fix this problem. Yes, Kirk, you're correct. There's just no attention being given. They have no plan, Janet, that's correct. And all of these issues are because of bad governance. You're correct, Liddy. And so the UIC is going to share with you now 7 things that we must do in order to address the problem. Clearly, there's incompetence. You're correct, AMJ. There is some incompetence there. But I think the most important thing that's driving the lack of development in Jamaica is the corruption, which is a direct derivative of bad governance, which is a direct derivative of the system of governance that we have in place. So the UIC, number one, the UIC will put in place one central public works department with competent staff to ensure high quality design, high quality implementation, high quality rehabilitation, and high quality maintenance of all our public infrastructure. This is very, very important. Having one central agency that is responsible for our public infrastructure is critical. And then we must do away with the blame game of MPs versus councillors. It really is not the job of an MP or a councillor to do public works. That is a specialized job. You need a specialized agency. You need a government that plans and budgets for public infrastructure. And then that agency is to go about designing, implementing, rehabilitating, and maintaining that public infrastructure on a consistent, scheduled basis by hiring the right people, maintaining the right staffing levels, having the appropriate accountability structures in place, and then regularly on a scheduled platform, go around the entire island on schedule and deal with each and every one of the public infrastructures without any discussions with MPs or councillors except to hear from them. So an MP or councillor should simply be bringing to the attention of the parliament and the executive branch where there are lapses. So if they're seeing where the public works department is not doing its job, or is not doing its job properly, or is not doing its job in a way that demonstrates accountability and value for money, then the MP or the councillor should bring this matter up. But other than that, they're not responsible for maintaining. What does an MP know about maintaining roads or building roads or maintaining drains or building drainage systems? That's not their job. It should not be their job. And so the UIC is going to do away with this blame game system and put in place a public works department that is dedicated, focused, and accountable for public works maintenance. What do you think about that? Do you agree with me? Do you agree that we need to have a public works department that is properly and fully managed by one central agency, and that they are to be held accountable for managing the infrastructure, the public infrastructure across the country? Do you agree? If you agree, just type yes in the box so I can know. If you disagree, type no, and then I'll try to see if I can explain better. But I think it's very important for us to have that in place. That's number one. I'm going to tell you about number two in a bit, but let me hear if you agree with number one, that we need to have a central agency that is fully focused on design, implementation, rehabilitation, and maintenance, and we should do away with this business of having MPs and councillors blaming each other or blaming different levels of government. Let us focus on one aspect of government, the Public Works Department, and give them the resources and the responsibility to be on a schedule and to manage the infrastructure of this country in all 14 parishes. So that's number one. The second thing we're going to do, the UIC will ensure that all communities are waterproof. We're going to do this by designing them to move excess water into proper water harvesting catchments and into runoff channels to avoid flooding while building our water stock. So we're going to see water as our friend, whether it's coming from a storm, a hurricane, or a normal rain. We're going to plan to harvest this water. We're going to plan to capture this precious commodity, and we're going to plan to store that water where possible or channel it properly so that it gets to the sea easily. We're not going to block it. We're going to create pathways. We're going to create structures that understands that nature is going to send us some heavy downpours from time to time. And when it comes, we want to be prepared for it. We want to harvest it. We want to properly channel it. We want to build our communities to know that water is a part of life. Rainwater is a part of our existence. So let's not be afraid of it. Let us plan for it. Let us harvest it. Let us use it. If you agree that we need to design communities that will harvest water, catch the water, store the water, treat the water, and at the same time, channel the excess back to the sea and to the rivers and into ponds and lakes that we even create, man-made create, so that we do not end up having flooding, but rather we're happy to see the rain. We welcome the rain because we know that we have designed our society to capture all of that or to channel it properly to benefit us as opposed to being a hindrance to us. On top of that now, we want to sell this water. So, there are countries who need water. So we shouldn't be afraid of it. We should be happy and design our country to collect as much of it as possible so we can sell it. So that's number two. So number two, first, if you agree with number two, say, yes, I agree with number two, that we need to ensure that our communities are designed to be waterproof. They're designed to move water into proper harvesting catchments and to run off water properly into our rivers, into ponds and lakes, and into the seas. Take, for example, those mud lakes that we have from the bauxite facilities. I already suggested we could put solar panels on top of those lakes since the lakes are no good. But another purpose we could use them for is to actually use them to capture water, not for regular use, not for drinking and so on, but now turn those into lakes that would create a water cycle in the atmosphere that would serve us better. But that's another area. Number three, under the UIC, no community will ever again have a water problem. There are many communities right now that are suffering from lack of water pressure, lack of water, droughts, and so on. So number three is for us to make sure that we channel these waters into harvesting pools and link them by a network of channels so that we can move water around the country to supply the needs of whichever community does not have enough in their catchment facilities. So we need to create a water network. And it's not as difficult as it sounds. It just requires that we stop stealing the money and using it for building the things that will support the people. So if you agree with me that we need to build a water network similar to an electrical grid where you link all of the communities on a water network system that allows us to move water easily from St. Elizabeth to Clarendon, from St. Thomas to Kingston or Portmore, from Montego Bay to Westmoreland, and so on, by building a water grid and linking all of the communities through this grid system and using a combination of the depressions to move these water around. So using gravity feeds where possible, and then augmenting it with a little bit of power from, say, solar pumps, or something that is called a ram pump, which runs perpetually without additional fuel charge. So we're able to build a network of water movement to supply all communities, and never again will any community or farming areas be lacking in water. Somebody says, I'm thinking even higher. Not only should we be harvesting the water, but also extract energy from the flowing water. Excellent, Devereaux. Perfect thinking. Once we have it at a high enough elevation, we can use hydroelectricity to move a turbine and create water from that. It won't be reliable year-round, but it will be available during such times. So that's number three. Number four, as Jamaica grows, more and more buildings are going to be going up and have been going up. Unfortunately, as those buildings are going up, and because of the corruption, even in our parish council, there's no proper planning for that. There's no proper planning and expansion of the infrastructure to meet the needs of the community and to plan for the influx of water. Because when you put new buildings in an environment, right, it changes the flow of air, of water. It changes the dynamics of all of the ecosystem that is there. And so if you're not careful, if you don't plan carefully, you may not see it right away. Look at the Ruthven Road situation, that they just put it up and they have to put sandbags around it. Why? Because they just realized now that you may have flooding because of the other environmental factors. The Ruthven Road apartments may not be the only problem. It may be just now an addition to the problem, which is going to cause a catchment. Do you remember when the Chinese built the overpass out at 3 miles there, that area near the 3 miles, coming from Portmore going into Kingston? They built it, but nobody bothered to plan what is going to happen when all that water runs off en masse. So now it's not going to be diffused like it was before. It's going to run off and just come right down. And all that water rush down, and then we have a problem. I see Douglas is back. Do you remember that, Douglas? You remember that problem? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. Yes, I do remember 100%.
Yeah. Now, we have forgotten about it today, but that is the way we have planned failed to plan in Jamaica. So they put up this beautiful road. Everybody was clapping until the rain came. And that's the way our country has been run. We do not have leaders that look at all, when I work with the Chinese, I discovered something from the Chinese. I worked with a number of Chinese people in my lifetime as a professional. And I've been to China as well, to Beijing. And one thing I observed while working with the Chinese is their approach to problem solving. So let's say you come to them with a problem, and you say, here's a problem I want fixed. If you ask the typical person about the problem, they'll immediately start to try to solve the problem. But what the Chinese do, at least the ones I have worked with in my other sphere of life, they study the problem itself before they try to solve the problem. So they study all the factors around it to understand. So they're looking at, let's say you're looking at an environment, and this is if they're doing it for themselves, if they're doing it for you, maybe they say that you're an idiot and they don't bother to do it, but for themselves, they say, okay, we're going to put a building here. Okay, building, no problem. What are the issues that building will cause? Okay, they said, all right, building goes up. What impact will it have on airflow, aerodynamics? Building goes up. What impact will it has on water flow? What impact will it have on pedestrian traffic? What impact will it have on vehicular traffic? What is the long-term implication in terms of the sewage that comes out of this building? What is going to happen in terms of the how you're going to commute to get to this building? So what kind of commuting issues are we going to have? Will we now require a new intersection of lights here? Will we require crosswalks because of all of this? What's the proximity of this building to certain types of buildings, schools, churches, hospitals? What impact will the kind of traffic this building brings will be having on the other areas? And before they lift a single block or steel or cement, they have gone through all of this assessment. Now we have NEPA, the National Planning Agency, my gosh. This is supposed to be the kind of assessment that they're supposed to do before anything at all goes on. When they claim they're doing this to give you a permit. But instead of you get a permit based on your political intervention, so they're doing the job that they're supposed to do. We have a government that allows this to continue. And in the end, we end up with problems now. So far.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I was watching a video yesterday or day before yesterday on Singapore on the transportation, Singapore's MRT system. And it's amazing. It started somewhere in the 80s, but they've planned out the system until 2030. Like, they already know the stations that are going to be made and built in 2028, 2027, 2029, 2030. And then they have future, they had a section that was on future development. And I'm saying, isn't 2030 future development? No, they've already planned that. So now they're saying, all right, after 2030, what could we do? Where could we, you know, attach this community with that community because they don't have a railway that connects them? And I'm saying to myself, wow, I mean, this is like forward thinking, way ahead.
Very much so. And it speaks to a government that understands its role,
right?
And one that is committed to the people, to nation building. You know, they're committed to nation building. They're not committed to just winning power. If you're committed to just winning power, winning and holding power, then you don't care. You know, say you have 5 years, you're going to milk it for the 5 years, and then at the end of the 5 years, if you're lucky and you can trick the people again, you get another term. So like this government now, the one we have now, they tricked the people and won in 2016. Now, mind you, it never matter whether they win or not, because if the other side win, it would be the same thing, right? But they tricked the people and they won in 2016. Then they time it again and plan again, and in 2020, they win again, and they're happy. And now they're busy again, focused on how do we win again. So their planning and scheming is not about building Jamaica and creating a better Jamaica.
Right.
Their planning and their scheming is only about winning the next election.
Yeah.
And it's the same for the other party.
Right.
And it's a symptom of the system, which is why the UIC wants to get rid of that system. We need a non-partisan constitutional republic if we're going to be able to properly plan and manage. But let me go to number 4. Number 4, you know, as Jamaica, as I was saying earlier on, as the country grows and we put in more building, we need to plan for those buildings. The UIC will streamline the process of building permits and retroactively address existing buildings to bring them into compliance with a modern building code that protects the people and the assets of Jamaica. Now, all of these kind of laws, they have to be, for want of a better word, permanent. They can't be something that is changed with each change of government. So the UIC is going to put in place a new constitution that will protect the interest of Jamaicans from politicians. So we're going to put Jamaica on a path that says, let's fix those infrastructures. And nothing is going to derail that plan. We're going to be focused on getting new buildings up to code, proper code, and old buildings retrofitting those communities, remodeling those communities. In fact, we're going to have to get rid of some communities. A part of the UIC's plan, we're going to have to get rid of the squatter communities. We're going to have to get rid of the ghetto communities. We're going to have to get rid of the garrison communities. So we're talking about, in some cases, completely erasing an area and moving the people into better facilities, modern facilities, properly designed facilities. Where we can't rehabilitate, we have to demolish and rebuild if we're going to have a modern Jamaica. And the UIC is very committed to having a very, very modern Jamaica where every single family is living in decent, affordable housing that brings them dignity. So that's number 4. If you agree with number 4, let me know. Just say agree with number 4, so we know what your position is. If you believe in our plan, you want us to do this, you want us to modernize Jamaica, standardize Jamaica, get our infrastructure up to code for both new buildings and old buildings, and make sure we have a Jamaica that from east to west, north to south, we no longer have ghettos. We no longer have garrisons. We no longer have squatter communities. We move Jamaicans into 100% own ownership. Liddy Wilson. Can you read that for me, Douglas?
Right, so Lydia Williams says, Mr. Patterson has all the beautiful ideas to take back our country from the colonial monarchy. So we'll have a successful future for our children and grandchildren.
Thank you, Liddy. I can tell you this. Tomorrow morning, you'll wake up and hear the Prime Minister saying all of this. But but one thing I keep telling Jamaicans, you can't trust them, right? If they haven't done it for 78 years, then certainly they're not going to do it again. All they're doing is they're going to be copying and saying whatever they can say to win the next election. And we can't afford to allow them. So number five on our list is the UIC is going to abolish the Constituency Development Fund. This fund is granted to MPs because it is a waste. It is a way for them to engage in corruption. It is a waste of money and it only feeds corruption instead of funding the orderly development of the country. So the UIC is going to say, no man, let's step back. Let's stop this foolishness about giving MPs money to spend. MPs and councillors should get no money to spend. Their job is not to spend money, and that's a problem we have with our design. If you have a properly designed country, the executive branch of government, which is the branch with the intellect and knowledge about infrastructure, economy, and whatever, you hire those people as subject matter experts in charge of ministries. And those persons now must come back to Parliament, or in our case, when we get into Congress, and say to us, here's a budget for the year, here's the plan for the next 5 years, or 10 years, or 20 years. Here are the priorities, here's why, and they're to sell to your representative, your MP now and your councillor. They must sell that plan to them, and the MP and councillor would question the plan, analyze the plan, critique the plan, and do one of two things. Three things. Either dismiss the plan and don't vote for it, or send the plan back with some corrections and say, no man, you didn't factor in this or that, because the leader from the senator from St. Catherine said, I like the plan, but I notice what you're going to do in my next door parish of Clarendon, you're going to cause their waste to come and lodge over here, and it's going to create a problem for us here, so we can't do that. Nice plan, but the side effect is going to be negative for us here in St. Catherine. So go back to the drawing board on that part. And so the executive branch now would be forced by balancing the interest of the 14 parish senators and balancing the interest of the constituency representatives, plus looking at the national perspective. And through that process now we end up with a plan that works for all of Jamaica. And then both houses vote on the plan that has been presented by the executive branch with the support of the subject matter experts having done the analysis. And then when they vote on it now, the executive branch has the authority to now implement the plan. Now, as they're implementing the plan, your MP and the senators now will be analyzing how the implementation is going. And they're going to say, hold on, we never agreed to that. We agreed that you're going to run a train line from Lionel Town all the way to Maypen. Why are you bypassing Maypen now and going over to here? So that's not what we agreed to. Stop it now. And they come to the Congress and lick the gavel and say, no. That's not what we agreed to here. And the government said, oh, sorry about that. It was a mistake and we have to fix it, and so on. So that's the kind of government you want. You don't want to give your MPs the so-called Constituency Development Fund. Their job is not to spend taxpayers' money. Their job is to police taxpayers' money. Their job is to provide oversight of taxpayers' money. Their job is to be a watchdog of taxpayers' money. They should never get a cent of taxpayers' money to spend. And that way now, you cut out the vote buying, you cut out the corruption, you cut out the trickery, because the MP not get no money for spend. He or she now has to focus on representing the people of his constituency or her constituency and together with the other MPs, hold the executive branch of government accountable. Now, what you have today is foolishness. You have the executive branch and the legislative branch mix up. The two of them in the same bed. Why? You have an MP who is also a minister of government. You have a prime minister who is also an MP. You have a senator who is appointed by the prime minister and the opposition leader. So because of that, the two mix up. So the whole thing mix up. So they cannot make good decisions. They cannot hold each other accountable properly because they're too joined. And on top of it all, they're all funded by the same master. Yeah? The PSOJ oligarchy. And because they're all funded by the same master and are therefore not able to speak freely, they cannot truly represent you and me. They really represent the colonial masters. Yeah? And the oligarchies of the PSOJ. Yeah? So we, the UIC, we're going to fix that. We're going to change that. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Harper?
100% behind that, Mr. Patterson. When I read the 10-point plan and manifesto of the UIC, I was just, so in love with what I was reading, because it really showed that, a group of people sat down and said, all right, what are the issues that are really facing this country? And how can we really deal with it? Not just to say, oh yeah, we're going to do, how are we really going to get to the root of the problem and really deal with it in a way that will help the country to progress and move forward? So I am in 100% agreement with it, with the structure.
One of the things that the two parties do, they come to us with gimmicks. So they like to come to us with what new gimmicks we can bring to the people. Like, I saw somebody writing about it here. Will we have a rent geared to income, solution? I think that's something that, Damian Crawford came up with, and then the GLP borrowing it and so on. Listen, let's be real. If we're going to provide housing for the Jamaican people, let's provide housing for the Jamaican people. Let's not come up with gimmicks. That the NHT was a gimmick. The NHT was a gimmick that allows the politicians to get vote, allow them to look good, while at the same time, it's not working for the people. It gives 25% of contributors a benefit and leaves out 75%. Let us move away from the gimmicks and get now down to the business of really fixing the problems for the Jamaican people. The UIC is focused on fixing. So, as I said, so number 5, abolish the CDF, the Constituency Development Fund, put the money back into the consolidated fund, put the money to creating and maintaining a public works department that truly is responsible and accountable to the MPs and the senators that we're going to fix, later on. We're going to fix up the Senate, make sure it's an elected Senate of independence for the parishes, and make sure the MPs live like the senators, live in their respective constituencies, and focus on representing, not spending. So number 6, we're going to ensure access to proper shelters for citizens. We believe it's necessary in the case of an emergency for every parish, every community to have safe zones, a space where any citizen can run to in case of an emergency. That place must be well built. It must be designed to withstand an earthquake. It must be designed to withstand all kind of natural disasters. It must be big enough to house as many people as possible coming from that local community. It must have the facilities, bathroom facilities, kitchen facilities, recreational facilities, learning facilities, very nice community centers. The UIC want this from a long time. So we're going to put in very, very good community centers that will serve as emergency shelters as well. We will ensure that these community centers have the capabilities necessary to house a lot of people, to feed a lot of people, and to protect them from the elements. This is important for any community. There's no reason why you should have a community without a community center. This must be a safe place that also includes a library. It must be a space that includes a gym. It must be a space that includes a learning center. It must be a space that includes, a park for the citizens to come and enjoy. So we're talking about lovely centers across all 14 parishes for the benefit of the people. They must be staffed, not left idly. They must be staffed 24/7, properly maintained, manicured, and must be a pleasant space for citizens to go to during the course of the day, and should there be a natural disaster. That's number 6. Access to proper shelters, which must be high quality community centers. If you agree with number 6, say I agree to number 6 in the comment section. What do you think of that, Mr. Harper?
Yeah, it's something that is, I think, is lacking in the country. When natural disasters come, many people don't have anywhere to go, and so they have to stay in their homes and battle whether it's a hurricane or an earthquake or whatever. They have to do what they have to do to survive, and what we're seeing now is just a result of that. People are just doing what they have to do to survive. And so, it's important that our government puts things in place that when natural disasters do come, because they're going to come, may not happen as frequently as it may not happen every year, but when they do come, you have somewhere that has been, you've designed and planned for, for people in various communities to come here, and not just have one, have several that, you're able to
if you have one for every community, right? Every main community has at least one,
right?
And you have a problem, then everybody knows where to go. If there's a major problem in the community, they all know, let's head to the community center. That's where we all come together. It will be safe. We will have light, generator backup. We will have all the things we need to be safe for the moment that there is an emergency, whatever that emergency is. I saw recently as well in the current rain problem, if you notice, some students were going to school, some students weren't going to school. It was unclear which school is open, which school is closed. No, come on, Mr. Harper. We're in the 21st century. A simple text message should have gone out to every single parent to say whether school is open or not. I saw one principal saying he's opening the school just in case some people came, and he has 10% of the students and so on. It's like everybody doing whatever they want to do, as opposed to having a coherent plan that says we're on a disaster preparedness watch. It is clear that we're being impacted, right? Therefore, we're notifying all parents there's no school today. It goes out by text message. It's on the website. It's on the news. You should turn on your television and you see on there, the following schools are closed in these areas. You go on the radio, you hear the following schools are closed in these areas. You go on the website, the Ministry of Education, and it tells you your school is closed or open. Yeah? And it tells you what the condition of the roads are. So you don't have a parent going all the way to school and then going all the way back home. That is so inefficient and ineffective, and is symptomatic of a country which has still not yet learned the value of efficiency. We're just good at wasting, and we enjoy wasting. And it's time for us to start having a country which is based on proper planning, efficiency, and thinking about how to maximize our resources. Number 7, the final plank in our plan concerning this. The UIC will apply, as you have heard so far, forward thinking and put proper infrastructure in place to mitigate against landslides, road breakaways. We're going to be on a proactive system. We're on a proactive basis. We're looking at these things instead of waiting for the failure to occur. It's very simple, Mr. Harper. We don't need to wait for a disaster to come. Our public works department must be proactive. It must go around the country working with the MPs and the councillors and the citizens and the civil society groups and paying attention. So if you see a road that is in danger of having landslide, you can see it, I see them all the time. As I drive around the country, I see all the bad areas. I see bridges which I know will collapse when the right time comes, right? I see down in my road here, down the bottom there, I have watched over the last 11 years as, first of all, the bridge is there and the dirt under it was gradually breaking away slowly and slowly. So I saw it happening. Then I saw when it broke away enough that the bridge itself now cracked. This is over 11 years I'm watching it. Then the bridge now cracks. Then I'm watching it. Then eventually one part of it shifts downwards because the weight is now too much for the dirt. So it shifts down. And then I watch as it leans to the left. And then finally now it has fallen off. Now, if we had a system of governance where the government cares enough to have a department that is focused on managing our assets. This is our asset, and a bridge is a valuable asset. Now, if they just went and augmented the small breakaway which was happening 10 years ago and fixed that small problem, they will save us millions of dollars today and inconvenience and all kinds of problems. But instead, they just leave the country eroding while we have prime minister and MPs running up and down, doing all kind of photo shoots, all kind of photo opportunities and publicity stunts, and blobbing their mouths and saying all kinds of fanciful things instead of taking care of the basics, the very basics. Go and deal with the landslide before the land slides. Go and deal with the road that's breaking away before it fully breaks away. Plan. Look at the movement. You have some roads, for example, in the past, small roads on hillsides. I've seen them. In the past, they weren't heavily trafficked because Jamaica was a lower population country. We didn't have a lot of big trucks and stuff moving up and down these roads. Today, it's more heavily trafficked, and over time, it has been wearing away. You have deforestation. So what you have is, here's a hillside. It used to have some big, powerful trees with tough roots that are holding the ground in place. But over the years, we have allowed people to go cut down the trees little by little. And so the area now becomes bare and bare and bare. Where is the National Planning Agency? Where is the National Works Agency? Where is the forward thinking and the forward planning? Where is the proactive government that we need to see these things and address them before they become chronic and save us billions of dollars? By small intervention, a small $2 million intervention can save you $20 million down the road. Now, what do you think of that, Mr. Harper?
It's unfortunate that our government is really short. As you said, it's kind of really based on the system, because we have a system that's, every 5 years you're trying to, what can we do to win the next 5 years? It's not necessarily about what are we going to put in place now that over the next 15 to 20 years will benefit Jamaica. They can't think that long. They can only think, for the next 5 years, because election, we may lose. And, so we have a system that it's based on who wins. It's not based on, okay, this is the plan that we have to take Jamaica for the next 20, 30, 40 years, and we're going to stick to it. It's based on, the JLP is in power now, so they're going to do it this way, or the PNP is in power now, so they're going to do it this way. And so we have this disjointed kind of non-future planning, and it's showing now in everything, the roads, the crime, the schools, everything. It's showing up in every area of Jamaica. We have a government that just does not care.
I had a conversation today with a gentleman. He was on our Instagram page, and I think somebody posted, one of our staff posted a statement concerning the children that were misbehaving in school, like rubbing off the blackboard and just being disrespectful to teachers. And I think the post that we put up was saying that this is because of bad governance. And the person was very concerned. He was saying, no, it's not because of bad governance, because of bad parenting. And he put his number on and said to call him. So I saw the conversation going and I jumped in. So I called him and I sat him down for 45 minutes and we walked through and I showed him clinically how what we're seeing today in our children, the problem we're faced with today didn't start today, and it has nothing to do with parenting alone. It has to do with who created the parents and who created the environment that led to the parents and the child behaving this way. And I showed him how policy drove all of this. I walked him back from the 1930s, the 40s, the 50s, 60s, and I showed him how government policy is what has led to the chronic problems we now have in our schools, the chronic problems we have in our healthcare, the chronic problems we have in our communities and our social fabric, and the chronic problems we're having now, even with the rain. It's because of bad governance. It's because Jamaica has a bad system of governance. Jamaica has had some terrible leaders, some of them very nice, by the way, some nice, terrible leaders. And because of that, we're suffering from it. And the only solution now is for us to realize that we need to embrace good governance. We need to embrace good leadership. We need to change the direction of the country. And that's what the UIC wants to do. So if you agree with number 6, number 7. If you agree with number 7, which has to do with changing Jamaica to a forward-thinking kind of governance, where proper infrastructure is put in place to mitigate against landslide and road breakaways by being proactive, by ensuring that we fix the problem before it occurs, that we look for the problem. So we spend time looking for the problems and addressing the problems. So say you agree to number 7, if you agree, let's anticipate the breaks, anticipate the landslides, not wait for the landslides to happen, not wait for the breakaway to happen. Let's anticipate them and attack them right away. And for that, you need a proactive government, a government that is going to be focused on the needs of the people as opposed to the needs of the PSOJ and the needs of the colonial masters. We need a government that is no longer focused on passing IMF tests, that's no longer focused on meeting the demands of global lenders and multilateral and multinational organizations. We need a government that is no longer focused on doing the biddings of the PSOJ because they fund their political campaigns and parties. And for that to happen, we have to change to a UIC model, one that will protect us from these things and allow our government to work on serving the people of Jamaica. Do we all agree?
100%, Mr. Patterson. 100%.
Yes.
There was a question earlier. So Patriotic Vibes is asking, how will the UIC raise the revenue to implement these plans? Like the plans on what UIC will do, but I'm curious about how.
Sure. The UIC doesn't have to raise any revenue. We already have the revenue. So every year, the government takes 45% of GDP. 45% of GDP goes to the government. The question is, how is this money being spent? How is this money being managed? So the UIC is going to manage the money. We're going to spend the money the way it should be managed and spent. So we're not going to go out and look for any money. As a matter of fact, right now the government has more money than it needs. Believe it or not, the government actually has more money than it needs, which is why the UIC, over our first 5 years, we're going to bring down the tax system from the multiplicity of taxes that the government is charging you, overcharging you. And we're going to bring down all of that taxes over 5 years to 10% income tax, which is all the government needs to be able to do the job of a government. And then we're going to have a 10% GCT, which is all the government needs to fix the age-old problem of addressing education, healthcare, housing, disaster preparedness, and saving for emergencies, and the environment. So we're going to streamline our country that we only have two taxes: income tax of 10%, and by income tax I mean a tax on income from all sources. So every single Jamaican will pay 10%, rich or poor. Once you earn $1, you're going to pay 10%. So that will be the income tax that will provide all of the public services. And then there's our poverty elimination plan now, which we're going to fund from the GCT. We're going to bring it down from 15% to 10% and use that sales tax to ensure every child receives the education, the nutrition, the healthcare, and the housing that they need to succeed. And once we have achieved our human capital development targets, the excess money will go into a fund for two things. One will be environmental protection. We're going to bring back Jamaica's environment. We're going to do some serious things to mitigate all the damage done by the bauxite mining and stuff. We're going to bring back the environment fully, protect our watershed, protect special zones to make sure the ecology is protected. And we're going to also put aside some money for a rainy day. So we're never going to have a case where we have earthquakes or floods or any other form of natural disaster or pandemic where we're begging other people money. We're going to learn to live for ourselves. We're going to be able to fund ourselves and help other people on top of it. So we're going to really shift our focus now to proper management of your affairs, proper management of your money, reducing our take from the GDP. We want to push more of that money into your pocket. Let you be the decider of how you spend your money. So we want to limit government to the point where government is a small burden, not a big one like it is now. So government becomes a small burden on the population and free you up to earn, invest, and you are going to grow the economy. Because of these policies, Jamaica's economy is going to double in 10 years. In 10 years, we're going to double our output, which means far more jobs, much higher wages, and a government that actually works. That's where we're heading. All right. So, Sir Douglas, I think we're done. We didn't get to show everything, but I think we've covered all the key points. Let's hear any more questions that we might have.
Derek Lewis is asking, Jamaica is in debt over 14 billion US dollars. How do we have money?
Yes, good question, Derek. I like the point. Now, the question you should be asking, Derek, if we owe $14 billion US, wait there. That's the question you should be asking. If you have a mortgage, Derek, if you have a mortgage for $40 million, which means you have a nice house, right? Right, Douglas, if you have a 40 million mortgage, not a nice house that.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, nice house. So if you have a 40 million mortgage but you don't have no house, what did that tell you? You're a madman. If you owe $40 million but you don't have a house, it means you're a madman. You have robbed yourself. Now that's what we have done. We're a mad people. We have robbed ourselves. We have allowed 63 members of parliament. It used to be 60 one time. We have allowed 60 to 63 MPs for thief 14 billion US dollars, and we're still electing them year after year after year. So the question you should be asked is, when are we going to hold these, I was going to say criminal, but I won't say that. When are we going to hold these people accountable? When are we going to say, how on God's creation we owe $14 billion US and we don't have a nice house to show for it?
Yeah.
So the UIC is now going to do the miracle. We're going to give us a nice house. We're going to pay off the $14 billion, and we're going to do it in a way that none of these two parties would ever do. Okay? Because For them to do what we're going to do, they have to stop thieving. So we're going to cut off the thieving so that we can put the money into making Jamaica productive. And from those productive monies, we're going to pay off the debt. Plus, I have some other plans, which I can't tell you right now. But those plans are going to see to it that Jamaica becomes a debt-free nation. We're going to have our own money for the first time in the history of the country. We're going to have a Jamaican dollar that is owned by the Jamaican people, that is produced by the Jamaican people, that is controlled by the Jamaican people. We're going to have a banking system that is no longer fraudulent, which is going to protect your money and your purchasing power. And we're going to have a Jamaica that you're going to be so proud of. But first, you have to have the will and the desire to push and work hard and help us to get the UIC elected so we can change from what we have now to what we should have been many years ago. All right?
All right, a question here from Devereaux. Why can't so-called ghettos just be renovated instead of moving the people out?
Because the work that needs to be done is extensive. There's no way, if you look at some of those ghettos, you're talking about some serious problems. It's more expensive to try to renovate some of those ghettos than to remove them, completely erasing and building the infrastructure. You have to do a lot of work on them, right? So we're going to pick and choose, of course. We're not going to just do wholesale, but it's going to be difficult to do piecemeal and to try to go in between and fix it. It's too significantly damaged, poorly designed. It's like somebody giving you a car. Let's say you get an old car. It's an old car, and about 15 different mechanics have played with it and made some adjustments. They're not real mechanics, they're makeshift mechanics, and they just can do a lot of stuff. And now you're supposed to do something with that piece of car. Maybe just move it out of the way and get a new one. Next question.
Lion Rule the Jungle is asking, Mr. Patterson, did you see the UN Assembly 2022? Did you see Andrew Holness's speech at the Assembly? And if so, what do you think about his speech?
No, I didn't watch it. I couldn't bring myself to doing it, honestly. I watched a few of the other speakers, but when I saw the first part of what he was saying, and I couldn't stand it. I'm going to watch it later. I'm going to try, but I haven't watched it fully. Let me be honest with you. It's very hard for me to listen to the Prime Minister of Jamaica. I don't suffer fools gladly. So it's very hard for me to listen. It's hard for me to listen to the opposition leader. It's hard for me to listen to any of our politicians because these people, they know what they're doing. Eh? They know, when you know that somebody know that they're doing something bad and they're pretending as if they're doing something good, it's very hard to listen to them. So I find it hard, but I will try. Sorry about that. My apologies. Next question.
Next question, Silver Cat. Oh, why isn't it coming up? All right, Silver Cat is asking, what are your plans on making Jamaican dollars strong?
Okay. Well, first of all, we're going to make it the Jamaican dollar, number one. So we're going to repatriate the dollar that it's produced here in Jamaica. We're going to take back our central bank so that the Jamaican government once again controls monetary and fiscal policy. We are going to introduce free banking, which is to ensure that we have a truly competitive banking environment that allows the Jamaican people to create their own banking solutions, their own credit solutions, their own banking arrangements. This is going to bring a lot of competition to the market space. It's going to reduce the cost of banking. It's going to increase accessibility. We're going to make it a right for every Jamaican to have a bank account. So it won't be something you go and beg for and suffer for. It will be just as normal as a birth certificate. You just have a bank account and you can operate. So all of that together with pegging the Jamaican dollar to our productivity as opposed to allowing it to be manipulated by the banking cartels, all of that will strengthen the dollar. But most importantly, we have to become more productive. And so 2 key plans for the UIC is going to change our productivity. One is to make Jamaica the organic food capital of the world. That alone is going to boost our productivity by some 30% in the first 2 years. And after that, it grows by a measure of about 5, 10, 15% per annum. So that's on the agri side. We're going to make all of Jamaica a tourist destination. And just the work to do that, plus the influx of tourism, is going to again add another 20% growth on our economy and create 500,000 jobs. And putting that together with our housing boom, which is going to happen when we move to getting 98% of Jamaicans to become property owners, that's going to push our housing boom through the roof. Again, that's adding another 200,000 jobs to it. We're literally going to have to import workers for real this time because we won't have enough workers. We're going to fill out all of our people and still have to hire additional people to get the work done. So all of that is going to tremendously strengthen the dollar because the dollar is based on the relationship between import versus export. And once we're exporting more on the organic food side, on the tourism side, and increasing our internal capacity on the housing side, that's going to pull our economy through the roof, really.
All right, next question. Derek Lewis is replying. Mr. Passon, all I'm hearing is government do this and that, but it takes private investment to lift up country economy.
You're quite correct, Derek. It's the private. Okay, let's change the word from private. It is the people of Jamaica who is going to be productive, right? And but government can serve one of two roles. It can either be an inhibitor to growth or a facilitator of growth. The current form of governance that we have is an inhibitor to growth. They gatekeep the economy, and they allow only some people to grow. So even when Jamaica, let's say we have a 5% growth, if we ever should have that, that 5% growth will only mean something to a small sector, a small segment of the population. About 5 to 10% of the population will enjoy that growth. 90% will see no marginal change in their standard of living. That happened in the 60s when they had tremendous growth in the 60s. And they like to talk about that. All that growth was similar to the plantation growth. Back in the slavery days, Jamaica was one of the richest countries in the world, the richest in the Caribbean for sure. But what does richest mean? It means that the country was producing a lot of wealth, but unfortunately that wealth was concentrated in the hands of a few. So you don't want a rich country where it's only rich for 5 to 10%. You want a rich country where it's rich for 90 to 95%. You're always going to have some people who will not fully benefit because of their own personal, inhibitors, right? They can't reach the targets for themselves. We're going to have to help those. But that should not be more than about 5% of your population. Yeah. So we're going to cause the wealth to be well distributed, not by government force, but by government facilitating the growth from the bottom up. We're going to invest in a grassroots economy. So when we talk about organic farming, it doesn't mean that the government is going to run a communist farm. We're going to create an environment that will allow us to have massive organic farms similar to what we have in the Netherlands. We're going to have a massively expanded tourism industry because government policy allows that to happen and stop preventing it from happening. And that's how we're going to open up the economy to all the Jamaican people.
All right, so Purpose Driven Vibes is asking, what is your plan for the airports and the wharf?
Okay, wonderful. So for the airports and the wharf, we're going to make sure that they're functioning very well. We're not going to try to nationalize them, if that's what you're asking. We're going to make sure that they're working properly. The key thing is to ensure that as a government, we allow for the best possible transportation system, including transportation out of our country and into our country. Also ensuring that they are world-class, meaning it is attractive to all of the different investors and traders around the world. So they find it easy to trade with us. And that includes flying in and out of the country and so on. We want to ensure that in all of this, we have a solid border security facility that we're going to achieve through our army. We're going to make sure that the Jamaican army becomes one of the best in the world at customs management and at physical protection of our ports, so that we have full control on what comes in and what goes out, so we can protect the interest of the Jamaican people. For example, stopping the guns and ammunition. Do you notice now, by the way, the government is now talking about that a lot? Did you notice? They're now talking about border control and about, stopping the guns from coming in. And you heard the Prime Minister begging for help to get it done. Always shifting the responsibility. A fewer responsibility to manage our ports. It's our responsibility to protect our borders and stop begging other people to protect us.
Yeah.
We have the capacity to protect ourselves, Mr. Prime Minister. But yeah, the UIC is going to deal with these things properly, because we have class, we have pride, and we have competencies to deal with these things. Yeah.
All right. So Silver Cat is asking, how does the UIC feel about Barbados Mia Motley, and would you work with her?
Wow. Yeah, we would work with anyone that wants to work with us. We're not, we don't have any problem with anyone, any country, whether it's Barbados or otherwise. Mia Motley is an astute politician. She's a politician in every sense of the word. She knows how to play the word games, how to play the speech games. But one needs to look, closely at the actions, not the speeches. Jamaica has never been short of prime ministers who can talk very well. Yes, I would fit into that category. I'm not one of those politicians who can talk very well. I'm a doer, so I'm here to fix problems. I'm here to solve the real problems. So if you want to compare my views with that of Mia Motley, for example, look at the way she's dealing with the problems of Barbados today versus the way the UIC is proposing. We begin from a foundation of respecting individual rights. So our foundation of governance comes from seeing every citizen as sovereign, every citizen having absolute right to their life, liberty, and property, provided they don't use force or fraud to get their way. That's not what Mia Motley sees when she looks at the people of Barbados. She sees her people as her people. She sees the people of Barbados as the way the Queen of England sees the people of anyone, or the king in this case now. It's almost like subjects. So for me, when it comes on to any political leader, I measure them based on to what degree they respect the sovereignty of their citizens. And if they don't respect the sovereignty of their citizens, then my respect for them is colored. Yeah? It's not the other talk. You can talk about the world financial system. You can talk about the unfair balances in the political world. Fine. We have had great dictators who have spoken about all these things. And so they're talking about the collective. They're talking about their country on a collective basis, where they, as leader of the country, wants to get certain things done or speak to certain issues. But for me and the UIC, our number one concern is protecting the rights of every single individual citizen, and then letting that individual right work its way out into the collective sovereignty of our people. One must not be against the other, and your individual right must come first, and then the collective right, so to speak, come second.
All right, so last question from Andre Clark. Well, not question, it's a comment. We have solar power. We're blessed with sunlight. We should be investing in nature's gift to us. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
As Mr.
I agree, Andre.
To earlier. Well, I don't think he spoke to it earlier, but one of the policies of the UIC is to make Jamaica energy secure, and one of the ways we'll be doing that is through solar power generation. So we definitely are. We definitely agree with implementing solar as part of our energy consumption or generation, so that we'd be able to power Jamaica, but if necessary, export that energy to other places near us. We are so rich with so much natural benefits. So we have wind, we have solar, we have water, geothermal. So
we have everything. I mean, Jamaica is actually a rich, very, very rich country. I mean, Lee Kuan Yew said, Lee Kuan Yew, who has a little tiny little thing, he has just a little St. Thomas. Singapore is the size of St. Thomas, right? Very small. And they're very rich. I mean, they're 100 times richer than us. And Lee Kuan Yew says, my God, I wish I had Jamaica. Because if he had just a country 15 times larger than what he had there to deal with, just imagine how much richer they would be if they had all of our assets. So we have everything. I mean, I am looking forward to the UIC governing Jamaica. You're going to be shocked at how rich Jamaica can be when you see what we're going to do with this country. You're going to say to yourself, why on earth this didn't happen in the 1960s or 70s? So I could have been a part of that new Jamaica. We're going to bring out the best in Jamaica, my people. We're going to make this country a super place to live in. If you go and look at Cayman, you go to Cayman Island and see how good they have done, Jamaica is going to be better. You go to a country like the British Virgin Islands, look how wonderful they are. We're going to be better. I mean, it's a shame, actually. It's a shame, a serious shame where we are. There's no reason on God's creation that we should be where we are today. It is a sin. It's a travesty. It is a complete waste of our time and resources.
Yeah. Just 70, 80 years of regression, as it is. It's not even being stagnant now. It's 78 years of regression. But it's time. Enough is enough. Mr. Patterson said on the march, some people are talking about time come. We're saying time up.
Time up.
Because it's time now that we, the people, we need to take full responsibility for what's happening with our country and with our government and the type of governance that we are experiencing. It's not getting us anywhere. No. And it's been 22 years short of a century.
Yeah.
I mean, how much longer do we need to wake up and realize that this is not benefiting us? The system that we have in place is not benefiting us.
Do you know that the PNP is 84 years old,
Yeah.
84. Just imagine that. They were formed about the same time as the Marcus Garvey Party was destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay? They were formed to replace the Marcus Garvey Party because the Marcus Garvey Party was talking about what I am talking about now. Can you imagine if we had given Marcus Garvey the chance to do 84 years ago what we are talking about now, what Jamaica would look like?
Right. So it would be a completely different.
Yeah. If these two half-white guys had not stepped in and usurped the position of Marcus Garvey and his party, if they had not stepped in and colluded with the enemy and successfully displaced him, marginalized him, and pushed him aside and stopped him from completing that process of leading the Jamaican people to where the UIC wants to lead them now. If they had not done that, the colonial masters would have left us from 1944 fully, and we would have had a truly independent Jamaica. and today we would have been the envy of the world. You and I would have a different discussion right now.
Yeah.
In fact, you and I would be spoiled. We would be we'd be so spoiled. We wouldn't be, in fact, I wouldn't be wasting time and energy. I would be enjoying a luxurious life, you know.
Exactly.
In a beautiful Jamaica, enjoying myself. Instead, look at me, you know, taking all this time and energy to do that. I don't want. I mean, sometimes people think this politics thing is they're here enjoying stuff. This is sometimes
Yeah, you're breaking up. No, still not better.
All right, but anyway, if we had a Jamaica, like say Singapore, right? Are you there? You hear me?
I'm hearing you now. Yes.
Okay. If we had a better Jamaica, like say Singapore, you know what my time would be spent on? I would be developing and designing tremendous solutions that the whole world could be enjoying. Some invention, whatever it is, whether it's in, I was trained as an engineer initially. So my first training is in electrical engineering power. And then secondarily, I studied finance and management economics. Now, if I wasn't having to spend all this time trying to build a movement, a party to see if we can rescue the country and fix it, that energy, that brain power would be going into building some other wonderful solutions for people to use.
Right.
You know, whether it's in aerospace technology or communication systems or operating systems or new production systems, energy systems, all of that. And that's what you want. You don't want your people's energy and time being wasted by politics. Politics need to be boring. Politics must be so it's just happening. It's there, and you know, your government is just there. The garbage is being picked up. The electricity system is good. The sidewalk is good. The road is good. The infrastructure is there. Water is flowing properly. So you're not spending time. Every time you look at the news, you're watching more politics. PNP says this. JLP says this. It's a waste of time, people. Politics is sapping our energy, wasting our resources. Our people's time is too taken up with politics. Our time should be taken up with production, producing, developing, selling new products to the world, expanding our production facilities, creating more jobs, creating more opportunities, solving more problems. That's what our time should be in. We should be, evolving the next automobile, or the next piece of software, the next piece of artificial intelligence. That's what we need to be doing. But instead, our time every day, you watch the news, it's crime and politics. Those are the two things on the news: crime and politics, crime and politics. We're not starting new plants. We're not opening new mega facilities for organic farming. We're not finding new ways to grow tomatoes using less water, less soil, having big vertical technologies, new ways to harvest water, new ways to package goods and services to send overseas. That's what you want to hear in the news. You need to be watching news. Oh my goodness, Jamaica is now one of the leading countries in X. We're producing X, we're producing Y. And it's now being sold in Germany, in Australia, in New Zealand, in China, in Myanmar. Jamaica has found a new market here and there and here. That's what I want to see in the news.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Not this constant yapping about PNP, this every minute, who is having conference, who is saying this about who, and it's a waste of our time. I know it's, for some of us, it's nice because our brains are not at the level where we want to do more elevated things. And our politicians play on that because many of our children, who are now adults, were poorly fed, poorly nourished. Their brain thinking is way down. They don't want to engage in higher level thought. The UIC, we're going to have a hard time, reaching people because they're used to a certain level, you know? And so to get them to the next level, it's like pulling teeth, right? Because the brain isn't there. The brain will always navigate to things like gossip and like name calling and theatricals and all these kind of things. It's not geared towards the things we need to discuss. I don't want to spend time saying how bad the government is and how bad this. I want to spend time on solution. How do we fix this problem so that we stop having our people's houses being flooded up? How do we get more Jamaicans into decent housing? When you want, do you like what you see on TV? When I watch the news, every time there's a problem with people, I see these old, dirty houses, these old zinc dropping down on the people. I see these dirty piece of board. I see people living in squalor. Come on, man. How many years we're going to continue? It's time for our people to move out of the dark ages and live in decent houses. I'm tired of seeing every day somebody's being shot and chopped up, and instead of hearing how successful we are in building a new product or service. I want to hear how we've expanded our reach in the world. We have uncovered new markets. We've now doubled our production and we're exporting to South Africa. Yeah? As opposed to who we kill this time, who we stab up this time. Man attack police, police kill man. That's all we have every day. I'm tired of it. Honestly. I want us now to get into the business of solving problems and stop wasting time playing politics. I don't want to hear anything more, about the next politicians spouting some new statement. Oh, guns. We need now to make it easier for people to get guns because it's now another soundbite. You're going to go out there and make another sound. You're not serious enough. You're not seriously going to solve the problem. They just want to get a soundbite off, capture some media attention, and then we go back to normal. Yep, 2,000 more persons will be murdered by the time the year has ended. Yes, somebody will get burned. There'll be no facilities to take care of them here in Jamaica. Yes, somebody will go to the hospital and will die because treatment was inadequate. A road will be filled with accidents because the road is too bad and you can't drive on the road properly. Children are going to school, but the school is not equipped to properly teach them. You have teachers who are not qualified to teach properly at the basic school level. And it goes on and on and on and on. These things need to stop. And we the people have to stop it. We have to say enough is enough. Time up to these two parties and their system. We must say time up now. We're done with it now. Enough is enough. And we have to get together. And if you're there, I see people always saying, oh, people don't know about the UIC. Well, it's very simple. Tell them. If you meet people, if all of us go out there and meet a person, do you know about the UIC? No. Here, subscribe to UIC Liberty TV channel. You'll learn a whole lot here. Here's the website, uicjamaica.com. Go check it out. They have a great manifesto. So stop telling us how many people don't know and go out there and tell people, because there's no way for us to make people know without you. No way. What am I going to do? How much more of my time should I take to go tell people? I sit here for 2 hours or 1.5 hours. How much more of my time do you want? It's now your turn to go tell people. I am doing the best I can. Let us get up off our backside, everybody. Let us go out there. TVJ not going to do it. CVM not going to do it. Gleena not going to do it. Thank you, Gleena, the other day to give us a little front page piece. You couldn't read the writing at the bottom, but they put a little picture up. But please, we cannot depend on those who want to keep us this way. They are not going to tell the world about the UIC. So you already know. All of we know why Jamaicans don't know about the UIC. All of we know. Because the UIC doesn't have the money to go and buy all the ads in the world. We don't have the money to do that. So if you don't give us the money, we can't do it. The media will not tell the people that there's a UIC. It tells them there are two parties. We just did a poll and there are two parties, and here's the standing of the two parties in the poll. There might be some others we don't know about, but there's these two parties. And if the news comes on, it will say news item number 1, this party said this. News item number 2, this party says this. Oh, we won't tell you about any other party, just these two. So that's what's going on. You know that. So if we all know this, let us stop saying every day, every week, nobody knows about the UIC. Let's go out there and tell them. Me and you have to do it. I'm doing my part. You have to do your part. If we all do our part, then come election day, the UIC will be not only on ballot, but in the office.
Yes, yes. So please do share the live, guys. Share our Instagram page or Facebook page, Twitter. Share with your friends and family and loved ones. Get the UIC, the name or the information of the UIC out there. Help us, make it easier for us to reach the people, right? On that note, we're an hour and 50 minutes, almost 2 hours. I'd like to thank everyone for coming on and staying with us. Yes, please like the video. As Deborah is saying, why aren't you guys liking the video? Like the video, guys. The more you like, the more it will show up in people's feed. So please like the video. Lady says, quite an interesting discussion tonight. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Harper, and Uniters. We all have to make this change happen. Absolutely, Lady. So thank you guys for coming on. Please remember that we do have a goal of, getting 1,000 people donating $25 a month. I don't know how far we are with that goal, but tell people, get people involved. If you're not already a donor, go on our website and donate to the UIC. And again, tell others to donate, get them to come onto the lives and watch and learn more about the UIC and ask questions. There are a lot of people that are asking questions, and we have no problems answering questions and making our position clear, because we want people to not to be forced into voting or following the UIC, but to willingly follow the UIC or vote for the UIC because they want a change, right? And so we're willing to, just share with you what our position is and be open with you. And, it's up to you now whether you are going to say, all right, I agree with that or I don't agree with that. And it's up to you now to decide whether you're going to vote for the UIC or not. But given the other two political parties, I hate equating the UIC with a political party because I really don't see it that way. For me, the UIC is like a platform for Jamaica's growth, for us to springboard, and we really are being forced into this party thing because we have to be a political party in order to take part in elections. If our system was different, we wouldn't need to be the third political party. We would just have independents coming, and wanting to represent their communities or their constituencies, or their parishes or their counties, and showing up for that. Going through whatever process that's necessary to go through for you to become a VP, senator, MP, etc. But we have a system right now that you have to play the political game. And so we're being forced now to play this, we're a third party. We're not really a third party. We're a movement, a platform that is going to really reshape Jamaica, because of the system that we're in right now. We have a political system, a partisan system that is, has caused us to be divided. We are now going to change that system, right? So we're the change.
So, Mr. Harper,
Yeah.
Sonia Jones is asking,
yes,
why are you not campaigning? And Silver Cat is asking the same thing. Sonia, the UIC has been campaigning from day one. If I'm not sure what you mean by campaigning, if you mean, well, I don't know what you mean, But in terms of my understanding of campaigning is that you communicate. Communicating is campaigning. So we're communicating with the Jamaican people. Like right now we're campaigning, we're communicating with you. We're letting you know what our plans are. And should you elect us, what we're going to do. And we're asking you to donate to help us to campaign further, to reach people in different ways. For example, on Thursday, we were in Kingston campaigning. We were on the road talking with people, sharing our platform and our ideas with people, and asking people to join us in the fight for good governance now. So to us, that is campaigning. If you mean doing the things that the other parties do, well, we're limited in how much of that we can do because we don't get 300 million from the PSOJ to do it. We're depending on you to donate, and with your funds, we do the things that we can do. For example, we're now going on a remaining 14 parish tour to finish that up, which means having town hall meetings and more canvassing and registration sessions in communities. So we have plans to do more of that over the next coming weeks. So that's campaigning, Sonia and Silver Cat. Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you guys. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the questions. And until next time, we'll tune in again, hopefully tomorrow. And another exciting live. As Liddy always says, class is in session. So we look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. So thanks and take care. Have a good night.
Good night all. Take care. See you tomorrow, hopefully.